That's just demented, bro.
Okay.
Like that woman was innocent. Like she was completely innocent. She did nothing. And it drove her to literal madness to the point that she had to kill her way out, became a killer, and ended up killing her own family after the fact.
You can take the woman out of Gotham. You can't take the Gotham out of the woman.
That junk was just sick, bro. I'm sorry. I don't. I know Busy was having a hard time watching it, but that was messed up, bro. It did not
Especially
have to
with the
go down that
music.
way.
They really wanted to hone in on like, oh yeah, you think it's messed up? It's gonna get worse with this music, and it just, oh.
Like every single moment from the moment she got there, I was just like, yeah, no.
And I genuinely think that Oz didn't think her father would go to this length to dump her in Arkham and whatnot. Like, I genuinely think he didn't think that was his long term
Oh
goal.
no.
Like, no, 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 no.
Um, he wasn't in deep enough to even have a hint at what his plan was.
Yeah.
So that shit was not his fault. He just would have kept it a secret if she wasn't such a bitch about the whole situation, you know? But
But it's not her fault
at
though.
the end of the day, she had every right to have
It
that
wasn't her
attitude.
fault.
But you got to understand, this man Oz has been pushed around by literally everyone.
Everyone.
So as soon as he thinks he lost her, he's gonna go in that self
Defense mode.
yeah, exactly. And again, I'm not saying he's right at all. Like that was a
No.
bitch move.
He
But
didn't
at the end of
help.
the day, like her attitude towards him, that just made him come back to the fact that okay, clearly I got to go back to the it's
Mhm.
me against everyone else. You know what I'm
It
saying?
was the
So
wrong place, wrong time vibe because she said you could have talked to me. And it's like he did try to
he
talk to you,
tried.
but you
Yeah.
told him to just drive, and it's just like
Yeah,
full
it's.
bar.
I
That's a
think
lot.
at the end of the day, it's like he made a conscientious choice to screw her over in present day, and he didn't care about the ramifications of what that looked like. And it's kind of like he screwed her over in the past because, I mean, he was doing his job in his mind, but he didn't care what the ramifications were. I think that's the unfortunate truth.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and finish this so yeah, everybody can go to bed. All right. Episode 3. Oh god. I'm gonna do my best to remember episode 3. Episode 3 was rough because Victor, we get a flashback, like a full-on flashback,
The night of.
and we don't know, kind of like we're like, oh, okay, you get to meet, Victor's family, his ambition, his girlfriend, hanging out with his friends, and we're kind of like, oh, okay, like maybe like he has a actual life outside of all this. Like maybe he just kind of is very ambitious, and he was hanging out with his friends to go and steal, from Oz because he was trying to get up or whatever. But no, like there's a moment that pans, he looks to the right, looks to the left, and explosions in the Batman are going off. And at the center is where his family are living. And you just see the rush of the water just hit that whole entire building. And we have to sit there and witness. And that's the opening of this joint. In a few words, kind of what did episode 3 make you feel like emotionally? Because I mean, for me personally, I didn't anticipate getting that invested in Victor in such an episode, and at the same time understanding that there are levels to Victor and Oz's relationship that I really didn't understand either. But how did you guys feel about episode 3?
It's tragic the circumstances they're set up because I generally think that Oz cares for the kid in a big way, but yet it's like, but you guys are gangsters. You're in a gangster world, and that doesn't end well. And usually, it's a very, it's not usually, it's a cutthroat way of life. And telling him how proud of him he is. That's that scene and them in that restaurant. Like, I was like, this is so sweet, but I know it's not gonna end well. I know it's not gonna end well.
Yeah.
um the toast to his dad and whatnot. Like I was like, God, I was like, damn man, like this is why are you putting me through this TV show? And just seeing Vic rekindle with his old flame, his old love, and how to me, the tragic scene was once he gets to the station in the car and he sees her, and the door opens with a bus, and it's very classical cinema where it's just like that road, that part of a version of your future life went down that way, literally and figuratively. It went down that way,
Yeah.
and it's sad, messed up, and I can't stop watching.
Busy. I know we were going through a lot watching it, and we stopped. Like we were kind of binging through, and we stopped right at that episode. Um, and I mean, you kind of had reservations out on Victor initially from the first episode, and then by the end of the first episode, you're like, okay, but this episode is very different. But what did
So
you feel about this?
before I disappear real quick, I did want to say, because he was like a character that I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Like, I mean, I wasn't sure if they were just trying to do another situation that we've gotten, whether it's these are probably bad examples, but the Mandalorian, has Grogu. We have Joel has Ellie. There's always the big character that has this, the person who's not really the caretaker who ends up finding somebody. And I just thought it was gonna be something like around that cliche, but seeing kind of more of his past, which again, that intro scene, I didn't even know that was a flashback, and that totally destroyed me as soon as we saw the bombs go off, and I'm like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Because he got a message from her, I believe in episode 2. So I was like, okay, so clearly he's still talking to someone, so I assumed that was going to be present day for the next episode. So when we saw her, truly thought it was present day. But for them to dive into it, to see how Ozzy feels towards him, and now it's no longer him just using him. He cares for the kid on an emotional level, and the fact is, I mean, this kid has nothing except for Ozzy, and he has that girl, of course, but he's just not ready to take that step clearly. And on top of that, it's just he's so familiar, or maybe just doesn't feel like he deserves what she's going after. I mean, there's just a lot of different things, and it's just sad to see. Obviously, it's really cool to see what he's becoming, but at the same time, it's really sad to know the world he's kind of putting himself out in. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah, because the thing, the last episode we kind of seen him like fail and wanted to prove himself. And in this episode, the whole entire episode, he's kind of haunted by his own past because it's an intimate and a hurtful reminder of what he lost. And just talking to his girlfriend, like every time he's talking with her, he recounts who he was, who his family were, like what they pushed into him. And even, just hearing like the different conversations he had with his parents of like, this is what I want. We shouldn't have to go and stick it to this. We should have more. And now he has more. And I think when the girlfriend because initially me and Busy were like, why is he bringing her to the apartment? Like, this is a terrible idea.
It is, yeah.
This is the same episode that Sofia goes back to her roots and, is needing Oz. And essentially having Oz there is kind of like, okay, I have somebody that I trust, having somebody that used to be under me, so to speak. And I think that Victor never internalized it or looked at it like that.
No.
And, for initially, he was supposed to drive them, but he was like, Sophia was like, no, you're driving me, Oz. You're the person that's
Just like old times, and it's just like,
and it's like this demeaning kind of feeling and emotion. And I think that those kind of moments show you different threads of why and how Oz sees something in Victor that is symbiotic to himself.
Yeah.
And I think the sad thing about everything that happened in this episode, again, Victor's torn. Like, he knows how destructive and how malicious this is. But he also knows that Oz did spare his life. He could have killed him. And he's been taking under the wing of a sicko and a mastermind. And he's getting the things that he's always wanted, but it comes with the cost that at this point now he's paid it. And I think it's sad because from the very beginning of the episode to the end, like he hadn't crossed that line just yet. And by the end of the episode, he did. He freaking murdered somebody. He ran them over. And it was like moments before that, he could have, like you said, turned and went that way. he could have picked her up and just kept it moving, or could have got right on that bus and left. But I think, like you said, the moment in the club, that's what I was going to bring up to you guys and see what you guys thought about it.
Yeah, the PTSD.
When he was, first off, in this episode, he became a mobster, a killer, and a drug dealer, all in one episode, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He was pushing some drugs. He was pushing the product. We'll get to that in a little bit. And he was the person that was supposed to be there. And he had like a girl there that kind of is like a good distraction. But he had a moment, and the lights brought back the explosions.
Yeah.
And he tried to collect himself. And the only thing he could think back to is his girlfriend. And at the same exact time, it was this moment where, you know, Oz kind of checked in on him. Was like, we did it. We did it. It's cool. You're the man. I love you. Yeah. And I was going to ask y'all's opinion, like, what did you think about that scene and how they set it up?
It was just it's such a mind-bending thing for him, because he's found a community. His city was flooded, his home was flooded, and he found a community. And like how we keep saying, under unusual circumstances, and how I would even say that like he doesn't just feel he doesn't deserve the life that his old flame, his old girlfriend or love interest has. It's just that like, okay, that reminds me too much of where I come from. Yeah. I'm not going back to that. And it's just like, I'm moving forward. And you know, you see what this new life offers. Mm-hmm. And it's very much into that, you know, life is a risk, man. Like, you know, you got to roll the dice in it. And I think that sadly he's buying into it. And there's some truths to that. But there's an old saying that like, who you hang out with says a lot about who you are.
Yep.
And for if people don't like it or not, more to an extent, Oswald has built his community and he cares for his community, but he's also very cutthroat about it and is willing to switch things around for that. And I just find the tragedy that like that Vic sees a new life. It's just that this new life can easily kill him at the drop of a second.
No, absolutely, for sure. As far as we were talking about Busy, the club sequence where Victor has a PTSD moment, he's pretty much just like emotionally compromised. And I think this is the first time that Oz sees that his protege, his acolyte, as it were, RIP, has a shed of doubt. And he has a reaction to it. What did you think about that scene?
So, I don't know. I think that was a really cool way to explain it, considering that we opened up the episode with the explosions, you know, and to be able to see how brutal it actually was, because when, of course, the Batman came out, I feel like that was a darker DC movie for us, but at the end of the day, it was just extremely, to see the bodies floating in the water, and to see all the little details like that. It was just so unnecessary. Not unnecessary, but it was just like, compared to what we got in the Batman, it just really messed me up. And I was like, this is unnecessary. We don't need to see this. But the point that we're showing Victor's kind of PTSD, later on, it proves to be extremely necessary. It proves to be a big reason on why he's so messed up, you know. And it's just, I don't know. Overall, it just shows how damaged most people are in Gotham, because it's not even just him. If they're showing just his part of the story, I'm just so anxious to see how many other crazy heads come out of, you know, the disaster that was, you know, the flood.
No, I think that's a perfect segue, because there's something that Sofia said when, you know, she was convincing, you know, I don't know if they were the Triads or the other organization to push the drug. She was like, look at the environment of people around you. They are broken and they're susceptible to this drug. And this drug will give them exactly what they need. We didn't know where the drug came from. We knew it came from Arkham. We don't know the specifics of it, but we absolutely do know, just using Victor as a prime example, how broken the people of Gotham are. And a drug like this kind of gives this euphoric kind of feeling is this insane. And I think it might be the first time in any kind of DC Batman-esque story that we've seen, like what that looks like as far as drugs in something like Gotham. We've seen like, drug dealers and people pushing stuff, but we haven't seen people susceptible or subservient to it. And the people in that club, honestly, they just were losing it. Like I think
No,
we've seen, Scarecrow put fear talks. We've seen Joker
yeah.
do certain stuff, but it's different. Like where people get too much of a good thing that they think they need.
Yeah.
And it's just weird because having Oz and Sophia work together, they are dangerous. They are very dangerous together. Like their capability together, if they actually work together, they could honestly take over all of Gotham. To be honest with you, they make up the mind of a kingpin. Truthfully, they are the king and queen right now. But Sophia really doesn't trust him. She's very paranoid. And he's trying to gain her trust by everything he can. But there's this eeriness about her that you just don't know what she's gonna do. And you don't know what the family's gonna do or push against her. But we do know that Oz has a trump card. And so it's just interesting how Sophia and Oz move in this episode. But did you guys want to talk towards that a little bit?
It's just the hint of like, man, he said how strong they are together, and you can only imagine the what if of like, what if she did not go to Arkham, and if what if they would have stayed this strong, and um, it's very similar to an extent to what Vic and his old girlfriend are going through, the different life they could have had,
Yeah.
and how Sophia and Oz life they could have had if things didn't go out the way they did. And I loved, there was just an amazing dynamic between Christine and I think that's the actor's name, and Colin, where she would say a line, he would finish it, and they would go and look each other, be like, agreed. Like when he says we're calling it bliss. I think he called it bliss, and then she looked at him just like, not bad.
Yeah, she did.
And it was those moments I picked up. I'm like, oh, there's a strength that knows no bounds, even between the gangster families or Gotham as a whole. And they just again, just this episode alone elevated the material and lore of Oswald Cobblepot and Sofia Falcone, right from the comics, through the shows, through the movies over the years. Whenever they were brought up in adaptation or interpretation, this episode elevated that material so much. It gave new ground, new layer to those characters.
Yeah. Busy, what do you think about Sophia and Oz in this episode?
So I've mentioned this I think in every review, but every single time they're both on screen, it's just a matter of like, it feels like both of them are kind of, I know they're not intentionally fighting for, who's stealing the scene, but they're both so fucking good. It's just it takes away from the fact that like I'm just watching a show. Like they're both so heavily in their bag. It's ridiculous. And even scenes where she's not involved with Oz, I mean, you can feel the presence she has. I mean, it's just the fact that they considered Alberto as the boss or the head of the table, if you will, is ridiculous when we got Sophia doing the boss shit she's been doing this entire series. But yeah, seeing them actually work together was actually really cool considering that they do have a past. Um, and of course, one thing I feel like would be really cool is to see that past. But her, teasing it, Victor saying, "Oh, well, he was once my driver, and now you're his driver." It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you just hinting at like how heavy they had, how crazy was the past, and of course getting the little hints that maybe Oz was responsible for her being locked up in Arkham Asylum. There's just a whole bunch of different things where, yeah, it was so cool to see them working together, but I'm like, bro, like any minute she could, put a knife in his back, and vice versa, because Oz is just so self-oriented. I mean, he'd do anything to make sure he stays, with his head on his shoulders. So it was just a matter of like it felt like a keg about to explode. You know, I didn't know when shit was gonna hit the fan, and we ended up seeing that shit go crazy at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I think that's a really good segue because they had succeeded. They got what they wanted. They worked it out. They blackmailed my man with the pictures. Heck, it was hilarious when they got that man pinned up in his own room. Like, yeah, you might want to take care of this. Like,
that line she said to what's her name? It's like, I need you to do something. It's gonna burn. And I just like, I'm like, what is she talking about? And I'm like, oh wow.
Right. And so it was kind of like at the end of the day, when Victor left, he kind of went outside, like he took a drink and he felt lost all over again. He's almost like, man, like, yeah, I got what I wanted, but like I lost my legacy, so to speak. And so when he went outside, Sofia was there and they just started to really talk. And it was like, man, this is a really dope moment. And then the tables turned because the other family intercepted him, had him at gunpoint. And by the end of that altercation, even though Victor did save him, he basically said, leave her. And yet again, he turned his back on her. It was like a means to an end. It's that survivalist instinct that came in. And I was just like, that's messed up. And she's so paranoid that she was like, I need help. Like, somebody help me. And so the way that they handled that, it was like this whole entire episode was like him trying to earn her trust. And he did complete opposite.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it really gets me excited to hear what people especially have to think, because it's like, of course, Oz is someone, again, trying to save his own skin. But after all of this building up to get her trust back, like, why the hell would he, pull something like not saving her? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, everyone, like all the Maronis, are bound to say everything, like if it was just the Maronis and her, So there's just a lot of factors to put in, like because he usually thinks things through. So I'm truly excited to see like what kind of went down. But again, I'm really excited to see more Salvatore. So I know we're gonna get to that hopefully. But I don't know, the fact that we haven't gotten him. Did we get him in? We got him in episode 3, did we?
Maroni?
Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, like remember he went to the prison because remember at the point that he pointed the finger on Maroni and he got the ring back. It was kind of like, okay, Maroni's wife and his family.
Yeah,
they were kind of like, don't cross me, And of course he crossed them. He didn't deliver, but I think it's just the thing about this show is that you really don't know what can happen at any given moment. And I think that's what makes it so entertaining. Like, I never would have guessed the Maroni family would just ganged up on them like that outside the club. I thought maybe, her family would have intercepted or something like that. Them being held at gunpoint like that, I'd never thought was going to happen. But I also never thought that, Victor would get there in just the amount of time to run somebody down to save.
Second time he saved his skin. So I just want to put that out there. I mean, the first time I'm pretty sure was planned, but the second time, I mean, Oz truly believed he was gone. So to see that kind of like genuinely happy expression on his face was just.
I knew you'd come through.
Yeah. He's like, I knew you were built for this, my boy. It was just really interesting to see the way he kind of switched up, because he went from like pointing a gun at this dude, like what, you gonna take the money and run to like hey, you're back, man, I missed you, hey, how are you, man, have you been, and it's just like it really highlights a lot of Oz's issues as well, because the dude's a friggin' lunatic. But I mean, it goes back to what the poor landlord said, watch your back, be careful. So as we progress with the season, I feel like Victor's only going to get more and more like Oz, and I'm scared of that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because in the bed sequence, when he called him Penguin, that's when he stuck the gun in the old boy's mouth. And like Sofia was looking like, oh, you crazy too. Cool. Like she almost was like she was attracted by that. And it was just like, we haven't seen him kind of lose it, and there's just glimpses of it. And I keep saying it, and I'm gonna keep railing it. And if anything happens to Oz's mother,
oh Lord,
you need to move out of the way. You need to just move out the freaking way, because he will freaking annihilate everyone.
I love that you brought up that thing of Sophia being titillated by seeing Oz lose his shit and almost killing some dude with a phone. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, there's some Bonnie and Clyde vibes between them two.
It is.
And much like how Bonnie and Clyde were very maniacal and like violent characters, they loved each other. And it's just like, okay, what happens if there was a connection, but they didn't love each other, but they were that strong together? And if they're willing to put a gun behind one of each other's backs, how did that look? So there is definitely, I see it now. There's some Bonnie and Clyde vibes between Sofia Falcone and Oswald Cobblepot.
Yeah. But yeah, man, final thoughts for me in this episode. I thought this was phenomenal. Like, for them to go and take, first off, the actor playing the role of Victor, he was amazing. Yeah. So I mean, we've seen him in other stuff like Runaways, but the boy's got range, and he showed out in this episode. This was his moment. But they never depreciated the narrative either. Like, Sophia character ramping things up, Oz's character ramping things up. So the show continues to elevate while also positioning other characters. This was, to me, the best episode so far of the season. Like, I really enjoyed this episode. So 10 out of 10 for me.
It just keeps getting better and better. And I'm not saying better by like a huge margin. It just like it keeps wanting up each other. Like, the first episode was a solid pilot. Second episode, boom, we're in it. The third episode now, we're like, what the hell is going on? And it's just, right. I love it when a show goes like that. Where, like, for me, it's still hard to pick which is my favorite, but like, because of the recent watch, I'm like, yeah, this one had the sauce and everything, and like, it's a spoils of riches. Yeah, A for me, no drop off, nothing. It's strong.
Yeah. Busy. Final thoughts and rating.
Giving the episode an A. Thought it was solid. I think every episode so far has had like at least one moment that's just kind of blown my mind. And again, I'll keep saying the same shit. For a dialogue heavy show, this is like it's killing it for me. I mean, again, like, I haven't felt this way since Shogun, and I'll say the same thing every single time, because some of the interactions that we're getting, especially between Sophia and Oz, are some of the best stuff that I've seen in DC, in my opinion, dialogue wise, of course. So I'm definitely excited for more. Action wise, I think that it really did deliver, specifically with this episode, with them pulling up on the end. It was definitely one of the most gangster moments. Like, it had that gangster vibe to it, which fits the show. So it was fun. But yeah, I'm excited for more.
I'm gonna say this now, much like when I said with Shogun and with X-Men 97, if they stick the landing and Fallout, this is gonna be up there for show of the year for me. If they stick the landing, it's going up there. Like, right now,
you got Fallout up there.
I got Shogun, X-Men 97, and Fallout is my favorite shows of the year thus far.
All right. So the thing about it with this show, I don't know what's gonna happen. We're still in Gotham, right? We ain't seen the GCPD. Like, there's so many different threads that they can pull at any given moment, because this is Matt Reeves. I'm just gonna be along for the ride. You know what I'm saying? But
shout out to the showrunner, Lauren LeFranc. I think what she's been doing and the writing she's been giving the show and her contributions. Oh, look at the little doggy. Lauren LeFranc, shout out to you, because yes, Matt Reeves had this idea, but you brought it into fruition with your show running and the writing, and just kudos to her. Like, shout out to her.
Yeah. And Ronan, where can everybody find your content, man?
You can find me at Ronan Unchained on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Threads. You best believe I'm gonna be covering this show, and it's a hard thing when a lot of stuff is good and you watch and you're like, okay, now I just gotta edit and release it to the audience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Busy. Where can everybody find your content? Wait, is he still there?
I hope so.
You can find my content at Busy Braun and Busy Braun Reactions. If you go to TikTok, all our reactions are up there, and you can definitely go and check it out because we just hit 100K. So definitely go and check out our content. And yes, you can find my reviews on TeamJVS. You know.
What are you doing, bro? My phone died, and I see this shit halfway through. My name's Busy Braun, and I don't talk like that. Find me on TikTok. You can find me on YouTube, and you can find me on TeamJVS. Probably not for much longer. And I'm playing. We're doing reviews over here. Stay tuned for more content, and you can get the Penguin reactions over on my channel. Dickhead.
We're gone, guys. Episode 3 down, episode 4. Woo!
Falling off the top